I thought my husband was planning a romantic anniversary dinner for us. Turns out he was planning it for his mistress. But when I showed up at that restaurant in my best dress, I gave them an evening they'll never forget. Dear viewers, drop a comment below and let me know where you're watching from. Enjoy the story. It all started on a perfectly ordinary Tuesday. I, Patricia, was folding laundry by the window, soaking in the warm sunlight spilling across our living room floor. David was in his office, working at his computer, his phone left on the coffee table nearby. When the screen lit up with a notification, I glanced over instinctively, and my world turned upside down. Reservation confirmed for 2. Friday, 8 p.m. Romantic package for couples in love. My heart skipped, then pounded so hard I pressed a hand to my chest. Oh my God, he remembered. Our 15th wedding anniversary was 3 weeks away, but David must have decided to surprise me early, after months of silent dinners, evenings spent in separate rooms glued to our phones. After all of that, he still remembered us. I stifled a laugh of pure joy covering my mouth. Maybe he still chose me. Maybe we still meant something to each other. The laundry stayed half folded. I rushed to my computer, clicking through websites, dresses, shoes, jewelry, searching for the perfect look, like a teenager before prom. I found it. A sleek navy blue dress that hugged my figure but left room for mystery. Ordered it instantly. And heels, ones I hadn't worn in months. But today I felt it. Time to remember who I really am. The next few days flew by in a haze of anticipation. I booked a hair appointment, a manicure, even bought a new lipstick, the deep burgundy shade David always loved. Every night at dinner, I stole glances at him. He was on his phone a lot, and I thought, he's probably finalizing the reservation, planning what he'll say to surprise me. By Thursday, my dress hung on the closet door like a promise of a perfect evening. The heels sat in their box, still wrapped in tissue paper. I pictured walking into the restaurant, David standing to greet me, that spark in his eyes I hadn't seen in years. Friday morning, I woke up with butterflies like a teenager before a first date. My day was planned to the minute. Manicure, hair, a long bath with scented oils. Every detail felt sacred. I even lit an expensive candle, the one I'd been saving for special occasions. The vanilla scent filled the house. I smiled more than I had in months. Time crawled painfully slow. By 5 p.m., I was glowing with anticipation. Nails perfect, hair cascading in waves, dress waiting in the bathroom. I lit another candle and sat, waiting. David was quiet all day. Not a word, not a hint. But I believed he was saving the surprise for the last moment. At 6:30, I slipped into the dress, looked in the mirror, and saw a woman I'd almost forgotten. Confident, beautiful, desired. 7 o'clock. My heels clicked on the hardwood. My heart raced so fast I worried I might not breathe. Then a text came. Hun, won't be home for dinner. Meeting the guys to watch the game. I stared at the screen, blinking, as if the words might rearrange into something else, something less cruel. But no. I stood in the hallway in my new heels and dream dress, holding the phone like a death sentence. Then it hit me. That reservation message. It wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a misunderstanding. He had booked a table for 2 on Friday at 8 p.m., just not for me. Something inside didn't break. It hardened, like steel in fire. I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't going to beg. I'd spent too many years loving quietly, forgiving quickly, waiting patiently. Not tonight. If he booked a table for 2, I'd make sure he remembered who the second person was supposed to be. I zipped up the dress with hands that were shockingly steady. No trembling, no hesitation. I wasn't just dressing anymore. I was armoring up. Every curl of my hair, every swipe of mascara, every piece of jewelry. It was a silent vow to myself. Tonight I will be seen. I won't be invisible. Not to him, not to her, not to anyone watching this unfold. 7:15. He's probably there already, getting comfortable, maybe ordering wine. Maybe rehearsing the same tired lines he once used on me, but he didn't know I'd be there too, that I'd walk through those doors, not to beg or make a scene, but to show up, fully, fiercely, unapologetically. I looked in the mirror one last time. The woman staring back wasn't broken. She wasn't small. She was done pretending not to notice, done silencing her instincts. Tonight, I wasn't waiting to be chosen. I'd show up and let the truth pull up the second chair at the table he thought he'd hidden in plain sight. I arrived at the restaurant at 7:55. Not a minute early, not a minute late. Soft golden light spilled from the windows, wrapping everything in a deceptive warmth. Romantic, intimate, the kind of place we used to save for anniversaries. I sat in the car, hand on the ignition, letting the quiet storm inside me settle. Then I stepped out. Not timidly, not nervously, but with purpose, with dignity. My heels clicked on the pavement like punctuation marks in a sentence I was about to finish. The hostess barely looked up before smiling and greeting me, but I didn't need help finding him. I saw him almost immediately. There by the window, the best table in the place. Of course. He always loved a view. David was leaning back in his chair, smirking, saying something softly across the table. Then I saw her, Jessica, blonde, 10 years younger than me, with that polished look that screams, "I'm trying to look effortless." She laughed at something he said and touched his arm. His arm. I didn't feel my heart break. It had already done that. What I felt now was something far more controlled, deliberate. I straightened my spine, smoothed my dress, and walked forward. One step, then another. People looked up. Conversation slowed. The air in the room thickened as I moved through it. Like someone dimmed the lights and cued a soundtrack. Every pair of eyes started to follow me, including his. I stopped right at their table, locked eyes with David, and smiled. He froze. Fork midair, his grin dying like someone yanked the plug. His eyes darted, as if he could rewind the moment, as if there was a reality where I wasn't standing there in that dress, in those heels, in front of that woman, and her. Jessica looked up like she was trying to place me, a colleague, a friend, a stranger. But I was none of those. I was his wife. I leaned in just enough to step into their cozy little battlefield and said with a coolness that surprised even me, "Oh, I see you did book a table for two. Just forgot to tell your wife who the second seat was for." My voice didn't waver. My hands didn't shake. I delivered the line like I'd rehearsed it. And maybe deep down I had, for years. Every ignored instinct, every dismissed suspicion had built to this moment. You could have heard a pin drop. The air turned thick. Their poor waiter stood nearby, caught in the middle of a live soap opera. Phones started appearing subtly. I saw them from the corner of my eye, little glowing rectangles angled low, recording the scene like it was theater. But I wasn't performing. I was reclaiming my voice, rewriting the script, standing in my power with a grace that didn't need to shout. And he knew it. Oh, he knew. David tried to speak. Some panicked jumble of my name and a half-formed excuse, like his mouth couldn't keep up with the damage already done. "Patricia, it's not what you think. We're just..." I didn't let him finish. I didn't need to hear the lies again, like a script he barely rehearsed. I turned to Jessica, letting my gaze fall on her manicured hand, still resting near his wine glass. She didn't move, didn't breathe, and I saw it. The flicker of shame, the moment she realized who I was, who she was. But I didn't scream. I didn't cry. That wasn't the woman who showed up tonight. I stood tall, calm. I reached for the wine glass on my husband's side of the table, the one he ordered because he knew it was my favorite. I lifted it gracefully, letting the light catch the wine for a moment, then raised a toast. To liars, cheaters, and the women smart enough to catch them, I said. My voice was smooth as velvet, the kind that cuts without raising a blade. Then, slowly, deliberately, I set the glass back down. "You know, David," I continued, looking straight at him, "you always said I was too quiet. that I needed to speak up more. Well, today's your lucky day. I turned to Jessica. And you, darling, you're in his office, aren't you? Jessica from accounting, the one he's been mentioning so often these past few months? Jessica paled. Her lips trembled, but no words came. I just wanted to meet the woman who thought she was stealing someone's husband, until she saw his wife walk away like the show didn't even need an encore. David finally found his voice. Patricia, please, let's talk at home. Home? I laughed, and it rang crystal clear. David, darling, you seriously think we still have a home after this? I turned, chin high, and walked away, feeling every eye in the room on me. Phone still out, jaws slightly dropped. I didn't need to look back to know I'd changed something. Not just in him, not just in her, but in me. The silence behind me was deafening, the kind that fills a room when people stop breathing just to catch every sound. I didn't rush. I didn't stumble. My heels clicked on the floor like a metronome, marking the beat of every heartbeat echoing behind me. I felt their eyes on my back. Diners, waiters, strangers, everyone witnessing something they didn't expect when they ordered their appetizers. But I'd seen it coming. I just spent too long pretending I didn't. Passing the bar, I caught a few stunned faces. One woman even smiled at me, a slow, almost reverent nod, like she was silently cheering me on. And God, that meant more than I can explain. Not pity, not shock. Respect. The kind of understanding only another woman can give. One who's probably stood in those same heels, held that same shattered illusion, and chose to stand taller instead of breaking. I reached the door, pushed it open, and the night air hit like a second breath. It wasn't cold. It was fresh, clean. I closed my eyes for just a moment and let it sink in. What I'd just done, what I'd finally seen. And somewhere behind me, in that dimly lit restaurant, the wreckage of my silence was still settling. And he was sitting in it, next to a woman who thought she was stealing a man, until she saw his wife walk away like the show didn't need a sequel. I hadn't gone far when my phone buzzed again. His name on the screen, this time a call. I let it ring twice, 3 times, then declined. I stood on the sidewalk outside that glowing restaurant, traffic humming in the distance, and looked at his name one last time before blocking it. Not out of anger, not to punish him, but because I finally understood the difference between being wanted and being respected. And I was done settling for scraps. Through the restaurant windows, I saw movement, the muted chaos that follows a scandal. The waiter, who'd frozen mid-step, was now talking to a manager. Diners leaned over tables to whisper, hands covering mouths, eyes wide. And there, still stuck in his chair, was a man I'd once built a future around, now unraveling one embarrassed breath at a time. He didn't chase me, didn't run out to fix it, just sat there, exposed. And the woman. She couldn't even meet his eyes, already reaching for her purse, shifting in her seat, looking anywhere but at him. Because that's the thing about affairs. They look so glamorous in the shadows but crumble under real light. I didn't need to scream. I didn't need to throw a glass or make a scene. The truth was loud enough on its own. And in that moment, I knew. I'd served it to him exactly as it needed to be served. Hot, humiliating, and public. Walking to my car, I didn't cry, I didn't shake, I felt free. For the first time in years, I wasn't shrinking to make someone else comfortable. I wasn't silencing my instincts or questioning my worth. I faced betrayal head on, not behind closed doors, not in whispered midnight arguments, but in front of the world. And I walked away with my dignity intact and my head held high. Let them talk. Let them post. I had nothing left to hide. Sliding into the driver's seat, I caught my reflection in the rearview mirror. There I was. Not the woman he thought would crumble, not the one who begged for scraps of affection, but the real me. Strong, confident, still beautiful, not because of the makeup or the dress, but because of the fire in my chest that refused to dim, even after years of being muffled. I smiled at her, the woman in the mirror. I hadn't seen her in a long, long time. Dot driving off the lot. Notifications buzzed. I didn't even check them. I didn't need validation, Dot. The victory wasn't online. It was in how I showed up, how I walked away, how I didn't break, even when every reason was there, Dot. But I had no idea what was waiting when I finally looked at my phone the next morning. What started as a quiet confrontation was already becoming something much, much bigger. I woke to my phone buzzing across the nightstand, not once, not twice, but like it was begging to be noticed. I rubbed my eyes, reached for it, expecting maybe a string of desperate texts from him, but what I saw stopped me. Cold Dot, my name, was everywhere. Messages, mentions, screenshots. A friend sent a link to a video. I clicked, and there I was, clear as day, striding through that restaurant like a woman with nothing to lose or prove. Dot voice steady, toast perfectly delivered, shot from a phone at a nearby table, shaky footage, raw but impossibly cinematic. Dot. By dawn, it had spread like wildfire. Wife crashes romantic dinner in the most elegant takedown of the century. That was the headline. I watched myself walk away on the screen, heels clicking, shoulders square, the whole restaurant watching, and suddenly the whole world was 2 Dot messages from strangers poured in. Older women, younger women, some crying, some cheering, some saying, "I wish I'd done what you did." Even the restaurant staff reached out. One waitress, a young woman, probably still in college, thanked me for showing what strength looks like without raising your voice. Dot. She called it the most iconic thing she'd ever seen. Then came the flowers. A bouquet from the restaurant itself. No note from management, just a card. "Thank you for reminding everyone what self-respect looks like." I stood in my kitchen holding those flowers, laughing, crying, shaking my head. I had no idea my broken heart would spark a revolution. Dot. By noon, I'd lost count of the messages. Old colleagues I hadn't spoken to in years reached out saying how proud they were. Women from other countries, bloggers, podcasters. Dot. One message stood out. A woman in her 60s wrote, "You spoke for all of us who stayed silent too long." It hit a place I hadn't let anyone touch in years. Because it wasn't just about one dinner or one betrayal. It was about all the nights I convinced myself things weren't so bad, all the times I swallowed my voice to keep the peace. I filed for divorce that same week, quietly, cleanly. No dramatic fights, no shouting, just signed papers, a ring slipped off my finger, and a chapter closed where it should have ended long ago. Dot. He tried, of course. Tried to explain, tried to call. But what do you say when the world has seen who you really are? I didn't need revenge. I didn't need him groveling. I already had everything I needed. Peace, clarity, and an inbox full of dinner invitations from people who saw my strength, not my pain. Dot. It was strange, watching people's reactions. Some treated me like a hero, others like a cautionary tale. But I didn't care. I wasn't here to be anyone's symbol. I was just done disappearing. Dot. And if my story lit a fire in someone else, gave another woman the courage to stand up, walk away, say enough, then maybe all those years of holding a crumbling marriage together weren't wasted. Dot. Maybe they led me here. A week later, I sat on my porch with a glass of wine, my favorite, finally opened for myself. No occasion, no performance, just quiet. Dot. The sun was setting, painting everything in that golden hour of honesty. I scrolled through the final headlines, comments, reposts. Dot. People called it all sorts of things. The coolest takedown of the decade, a quiet storm in heels. One podcast called it a master class in self-respect. Dot. But what no one saw, what no camera caught, was what came next. Dot. Healing didn't look like a fairy tale. It looked like quiet mornings, fresh coffee, empty rooms that no longer echoed with lies. I started writing again, started laughing again, started feeling like me again. Dot. Not the woman who waited for scraps of attention, but the one who set a table for herself when no one offered her a seat. And somehow, out of humiliation came a strange, fierce pride. I didn't just catch him. I caught myself before I lost her for good. A month after that night, I got an unexpected call. Unknown number, a woman's voice. "Patricia, this is Jessica." My heart stopped for a second. What did she want? An apology, an explanation. "I know you have no reason to talk to me," she continued, her voice shaking. "But I had to call. What you did in that restaurant, it changed my life." I stayed silent, unsure what to say. See, I wasn't the first. I only realized that after that night. When the videos went viral, 2 other women from the office messaged me. Turns out, David had a whole system. He told each of us his marriage was dead, that you two were just roommates. The words hit like a slap and a revelation at once. "Patricia, you saved me from becoming you 10 years down the line, from finding myself in that same dress with that same broken heart. Thank you." After that call, I realized my story was bigger than revenge. It was a wake-up call. David tried reaching out a few more times. Through mutual friends, through my sister. Always the same. It was a mistake. I want to fix this. Let's try again. But you know what? Some plates, when they break, don't need gluing back together. Sometimes you just sweep up the pieces and buy a new set. 3 months later, I met Michael in a bookstore. He was reading the same novel I was, Margaret Atwood's The Blind Assassin. We talked about books, then life, then what it means to be honest with yourself. "You're that woman from the restaurant, aren't you?" he asked over coffee. I nodded, bracing for the usual: admiration, judgment, curiosity. "My mother would have been so proud of you," he said simply. "She put up with my father's affairs for 20 years and died never knowing she deserved better." In that moment, I understood. Sometimes our pain becomes someone else's healing, our strength, someone else's hope. Michael and I have been seeing each other for 6 months now. He doesn't try to fix me or make me forget the past. He just sees a woman who chose herself when the choice was hard. And that, it turns out, is the most attractive thing in the world. Recently, we passed by that same restaurant. I stopped, looked at the windows where my new life began. "Any regrets?" Michael asked. "About the marriage? That night? About it all going public?" I smiled, took his hand. "You know, I thought the worst thing that could happen was a husband cheating. Turns out the worst thing is pretending you don't see it." We walked into that same restaurant. The hostess, the same one from that night, recognized me and smiled. "Window tables free if you want it." I shook my head. "No thanks. We'll take one in the middle of the room, where everyone can see." Over dinner, Michael raised his glass. "To women who aren't afraid of the truth. To men who value it," I replied. And you know what? For the first time in years, the toast was honest. Today, a year later, I get letters from all over the world. Women share their stories. Some found the strength to leave. Some learned to say no. Some just stopped apologizing for taking up space in this world. One wrote, "You showed me dignity isn't in staying quiet about pain, it's in not letting it make you invisible." Another, "My husband saw that video and said, 'I hope you're never in that situation.' I said, 'I hope you never put me in that situation.'" We talked honestly for the first time in years. And just recently, a young woman approached me in a cafe. "You're Patricia, right? That Patricia?" I nodded, expecting another question about that night. "Thank you," she said simply. "I was dating a married man. Thought he loved me. After your video, I realized if a man hides you, he doesn't value you." That's the real legacy of that night. Not the viral video, not the headlines, but the quiet revolutions in the hearts of women who decided, "I deserve more." David married someone else 8 months after the divorce. I found out by chance. A mutual friend showed me a social media post. Young, beautiful, in love. You know what I felt? Pity. Not for me, for her. Because she doesn't know what she'll learn in a few years. that love built on lies never turns honest, Dot. But that's not my lesson to teach. That's her journey, Dot. My journey brought me here, to a woman who isn't afraid of the light, isn't afraid to be seen, isn't afraid to claim the space she deserves. Dot. So, yes, he made a reservation for two. Romantic, intimate. Just not with me, Dot. But what he didn't know, what he never saw coming, was that I'd turn his cheap little secret into a moment that reached thousands. A moment that said, you don't write the ending. And sitting on my porch tonight, watching the sky turn orange and purple, I whispered the final line out loud. Not for him, not for the world, but for me. He thought he was booking a table for a fling, but I gave him a front row seat to his own downfall. And for the first time in years, I was grateful for what happened, because sometimes you have to break to realize you're not porcelain, you're steel. And steel doesn't break, it tempers.